So welcome participants to today's meeting. This is our last Zoom session and our very last training for this session 4. So we are glad that you are able to make time to be with us today. So for today, let me share the activity schedule and then we'll start our program. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen. So for today, we are going to do, we've already done the first, but in the interest of time, we'll not do the icebreaker. So we are going to sub-activity 2, where we are doing a case study, FCM, false Codling Moth. So Grace will lead us through this, and then we have a break of 10 minutes. And then we have the presentation of group assignment 4, and then we'll review module 1, 2, 3, and 4, because this is our last session, and then we end our meeting. So welcome, Grace, for the presentation on the case study of the false Codling Moth. Grace?
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. I just want to put
Grace,
my phone off. I've unmuted myself. Yeah, let me just share my screen and let me begin to share my screen. Okay, I put it in the presentation mode. Yeah, good morning, participants. Good evening, participants from Fiji. Today being our last day, we're just going to briefly look at a specific pest, notorious pests that one might wish to have a program for surveillance specifically designed to address it. We picked the false Codling moth. Depending, of course, where you are, of course, I know you also have pests that can be troublesome. You could still use this approach on other pests that are troublesome in your areas. So I'm sharing the screen and let us proceed. The false Codling moth, the scientific name is Dermatotibia leucotrata. It is an important moth. It's a lepidopteran pest with a very wide host range indeed. It's documented that it affects almost up to 70 host plant species. And this has been so troublesome in our trade, particularly the ACP countries, when we trade with countries that do not still have these pests. Its effects really significantly reduce yields and the quality, particularly the cosmetic quality of the commodities on top of yield reduction. And again, it is a quarantine pest organism for areas that do not have them, and in particular the European Union. And therefore it is a pest organism that is key, and we need to really address it. This is showing you the life stages. This is the adult moth, what it looks like. It lays eggs. These eggs can be laid on leaves, underneath the leaf surfaces, as single eggs or as a batch of eggs, sometimes about 400 to 500. Then these eggs would hatch into larval stages. It's the larval stages of lepidopteran pests that are very devastating. And therefore, they're the ones that feed on the plant parts. In some crop commodities, they would feed on the fruits, particularly those commodities that we export, the fruits. They would definitely feed on the fruits. And destroy the quality of the fruits. So these larval stages are in 5 stages. So as they continue to feed, you see them, expanding in size and changing the color. This is the last larval stage before it drops to the ground and pupates. Again, it's not moving. I don't know why my computer keeps doing that. Let me again just get out first. It's hanging again. I just stopped sharing and begin to share again. Again, it's hanging like the last time. I don't know why my computer keeps doing that.
Grace, you can quickly share it over. I could help you with that.
Yeah, I don't know why it keeps doing that.
Maybe the network connection is not stable.
Yeah, just a moment.
You could even upload it here.
I'm sending it to you on email.
On email, okay.
Yeah.
I'm on the email, just send it quick.
Okay, let me. Yeah, check if it has come through. I don't know why my computer keeps doing that.
Apologies for that. Network could be a problem, maybe at your end.
Has it come through?
Not yet, not yet.
Check again.
Not yet.
No, I'm sharing with Dr. Frederick.
Good, I've gotten it, Grace. Give me just a second.
Okay.
Good, Grace. I'll be sharing my screen in a second.
Okay, good. Okay, move to the next slide. Move again to the next one. So now, okay, let's proceed. Apology for that. This particular pest is a pest which is native of the African continent. And I did mention already that it affects so many plants. The larval stages are the ones that are very destructive. They bore actually and feed internally. They can leave visible, feeding spot, particularly if you check on capsicum fruits, which has been, devoured by false codling moth larvae. You see a visible window. Sometimes they also leave, exudates, which is called a frass. Eggs are between 100 to 400, and then they would definitely hatch into larvae. And the impact is on the crop losses and interceptions at the export market. Remember, I indicated that this is a quarantine, this is a regulated quarantine pests in parts of the world where they do not occur. Next slide. Dr. Frederick, next, okay. That is showing you the distribution of the false codling moth. You see the yellow marks. It's present, but no further detail. So when you look at the map of the African continent, you find it occurring in sub-Saharan Africa. And then the islands of Africa in the Indian Ocean also have it. Madagascar has it. The desert forms a very good barrier for this pest to move across. That's why you don't see it occurring in North Africa. Countries of North Africa do not have it. And therefore, They also now form, the desert actually form a barrier between Africa and the European Union. However, you know, these pests still move in consignments of capsicum that are exported to the EU, and therefore strict measures have been established in place. If you check the Eurofight website for your countries, and if you are exporters of capsicum, you should be in a position to attribute most of the interceptions of capsicum to these particular pests. Next slide. So I did mention already that it's a major pest of capsicum and it's a host of preference. The reason being that capsicum fruits have a very soft skin. Normally at the level of the NPPO, it's very, very difficult to detect that this pest is present on the consignment that is going out for export. You may do your almost 100% inspections, still some fruits will escape with it, with very tiny insta-larvae in it, and you know, is shipped in that commodity that is going for export. And therefore it becomes a very troublesome pest. So how do you design an FCM surveillance program? At the level of the NPPO, you need to develop a survey design that defines the purpose of the FCM survey. And this design, you know, could be motivated by, if, for example, the status of FCM is unknown in a capsicum production area. Therefore, you harness the provisions of ISPM 8, and then you establish the status. It could be there being cosmopolitan or being present everywhere. It could be there depending also on the production methods that is being used, because capsicums can be produced ordinarily in the gardens outside or in confinement in the screen houses. So you need to establish as an NPPO the status of FCM at whatever production method that is being applied. So you can harness the provision of ISPM 8. And if the status is known, then you can actually design the appropriate management measures. If the larval stages or the eggs are still very few, you may still continue to do periodic scouting and monitoring so that you reach a status where you can now take action. So again, you might wish to gather data on FCM in an area to determine the boundaries of infestation. Of course, here you would apply the principle of delimiting survey. I just want also to mention that for FCM, it is entirely specific surveys. Remember that specific survey, specific surveillance targets a specific pest. So in this instance, you are only targeting the false codling moth. So you might wish to delimit the boundaries of infestation. For example, if you are doing your surveillance under confinement production, you might wish to establish this boundary. Or there could be a request that is specifically made to you as NPPO. Yeah, Janice has raised a hand. Janice?
Grace, maybe you can just finish
Yes.
and then you can take the questions. What do you think?
Okay. I had a questions based on the same slide as what Dr. Grace is
Janesh, maybe you could allow Grace to finish up and then have the Q&A session after that.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So your trading partner could specifically make a request that you provide them with the status of this particular pest, or what phytosanitary measures you are taking upon this particular pest. And one of the measures could be, you know, pest surveillance and subsequent phytosanitary actions. So you might also want to assess the host status of a newly introduced plant species. You've just introduced a new crop species in your country. And you might want to know whether this particular crop species is a pest is a host to false codling moth. So in all these instances, you use specific surveys in either detecting it or monitoring how it's behaving, or delimiting as appropriate. Proceed. Next slide. So approach to FCM pest specific surveillance. So you as NPPO, you need to consult with ISPM 6, and then you should also be in a position to identify FCM. If you are not able to identify it, remember that the FCM adult is a moth, and there are similar moth species. When you physically just look at it, there are moth species that are so similar to FCM, and therefore you may not be in a position to quickly identify it. So it could, make you score wrongly. You can either overscore or you underscore. So you need to consult with your research. Normally, research have reference samples that you can, once you take your samples, you can engage with them and they can be in a position to help you in the identification. So you also need to specify the scope of the survey. That is the geographic area, the production system. We indicated that 2 production systems are in operation, open air and in confinement. So that needs to be specifically defined. The timing of the survey should be defined. We know that pests behave in a certain pattern with reference to the weather conditions. So the timing of this survey should really be defined, and this should include the date, the frequency and duration, and you should take into account the host plants, its growth stage, the period when the most destructive stage is available. So when you design a surveillance program for false codling moth, you should take into account what time of the season or what time of the production, the production season you are going to undertake your surveillance. Remembering that some stages, this is continuously, the life stages continuously sort of like evolve. Within a short time, indeed, the eggs will have changed to another stage. The larvae will have changed to another stage. So it's good to take your surveillance practices at an appropriate time. Also take into consideration this statistical, approach that you are going to use. For example, the number of samples that you are going to take, how many plants, for example, you are going to sample, the size of the sample, the number of sites, the frequency, and name it. This is key because then it should be in a position to give you the correct picture of the status of FCM in your sampling area. Diagnosis and reporting procedures should really also be elaborated. Next. You need, as NPPOs, to be very aware of your major responsibilities when you design a specific pest surveillance program. So what you need to do is to establish a program for that specific pest. In this case, is FCM, and then you share it with stakeholders. Your stakeholders, your major stakeholders here are actually the producers and exporters. So you share with the producers of capsicum and exporters of capsicum, so that if you're going to do your assessment in their fields or in their production sites, they can give you a schedule of the time they're going to establish the crops, and then you are able to plan accordingly. Remembering that for FCM, the surveillance activity is initiated at a very young stage of plant growth, of capsicum growth, for example. So this is why you need to share your program or your surveillance program with the producers and exporters. So you also need to outline procedures for surveillance, including documentation. This procedure should also be shared with the stakeholders. The documentation aspect is yours, but have it nicely outlined so that you know what kind of data and what kind of information you are inputting and how you are going to manage the data until at a stage where you share the information that you will have generated with the appropriate consumers of the information. Or again, identify and mobilize the relevant resources that you need. These resources can be the financial resources, the human resources, the physical resources. You need to put in place things like logistics that would enable you, to be in a position to access your area where you're going to do the surveillance in. Again, you need to undertake scheduled training to maintain competencies of staff involved in this surveillance. Remembering that, remembering that not all staff at the NPPO are, again, one more slide behind. You should remember that not all your staff are competent. As entomologists, you have at the NPPO a number of staff who have different skills. So you need to have them trained. You need to build their capacity in a manner that empowers them to be in a position to identify the pest in the field, also handle the pest appropriately, so that once you are delivering the pest or the sample to the laboratory, it is in a condition that is still well that it can be identified. Again, you need to establish an internal audit system for FCM pest surveillance. This is referring to a situation when you have actually now undertaken the surveillance. You now go back to cross-check. How has the activity gone? What needs to be put right? What needs to be corrected? What kind of data did you not collect that you needed to have collected? So an audit system, which is a self-assessment of how you have been doing the FCM pest surveillance is key when you design a specific surveillance for FCM. Next slide. So when you want to do a commodity-specific surveillance, this is with focus on capsicum. Remember that we did mention when we introduced specific pest surveillance that it can either be on a specific pest, or on a specific commodity, targeting a specific pest. So in this case, we've picked on capsicum. So surveillance for FCM on capsicum is characterized as commodity-specific surveillance. You should still continuously engage with ISPM 6 to select the relevant parameters that you are going to use. We did mention the geographic distribution of the production areas and their size. And of course, knowing that capsicum is a host of preference, so you should plan your surveillance in a manner that you give priority to areas with large-scale capsicum production, can be in the field, can be in confinement, because normally it's the large-scale production areas. Normally they are the ones that produce for export. So this gives you time actually to prioritize on which specific areas to go and do the surveillance in. So pest management programs for false codling moth should be also taken into account, bearing in mind that some of these are commercial production or non-commercial. When you do this again, take into consideration the cultivars that are present. Of course, there are quite a number of cultivars of capsicum. Depending on the variety that has been cultivated, the susceptibility to false codling moth could also be different, could be manifested differently. The previous slide, please. When you do surveillance, also take into account the points of consolidation. Remember that we indicated that you're doing this surveillance not only at production level, but also at the export level. So that means surveillance is also done in the pack houses. So from the field to where they are consolidated, to where they are sorted, and also at the final stage. For the case of Uganda, we have a final stage, which is pack house at the airport, where the inspectors do their final inspection. So to ensure that you are not exporting commodities with false codling moth in them, you really need to do very thorough inspections coupled with surveillance. Next slide, and then next slide. I think we covered this slide already. For false codling moth monitoring on capsicum, this is done actually weekly, and you start this monitoring at seedling stage. So when you're doing this monitoring, you're looking at the eggs, and these eggs should appear as white or cream or dark brown in color. And sometimes you find them laid as single eggs or in batches at the base of developing fruits or flower buds, and sometimes underneath the leaves. So when you are looking at the larvae, for example, and you come across about 5 to 10 larvae at, on a plant, or 10% of the plants observed contains eggs, you are supposed to initiate action. And this action should be actually taking the appropriate phytosanitary measures, which includes, sometimes use pheromone traps. Sometimes you also use pesticides to control these pests. So your examination of these plants should entail the application of pheromone traps and then physical examination. So when you use pheromone traps, the application rate is 1 trap in 5 acres. And if you get about 7 adults in each trap, again, you are expected to take action. Next slide. Next. Okay, we come at the level of information management, where it's actually critical for the NPPO to establish this and operationalize it, because the essence of doing surveillance is at the end of the day to share the necessary information, either among yourselves for you to be able to plan accordingly, or share this information with your trading partners. So the sampling data can be recorded in a book while in the field, and it can also be done electronically if you have the means. The NPPO should therefore establish procedures for generating reports from the field data. That report then should be disseminated and shared with the appropriate interested parties. So if you conceal pest reports, it is very devastating indeed, particularly to international trade. You should therefore prioritize information sharing as appropriate. Next slide. The next slide. I think this is the end of this presentation. And Janice, you had a question which you can now ask.
Thank you, Dr. Grace. This presentation is very, very interesting, and this is the first time, not the first time, but I'm more interested in Lepidoptera and pests. So first, Codling Moth is also one of the key pests that I was very, very interested. So I have few questions with regards to I have 6 questions and I have noted it here. So allow me if I can go one by one, not at the same time. So one of the slide that you have kept the picture of a trap, the sleeve trap. So it's directly showing the trap is in the field in between the plants. So my question is, it was for the monitoring purpose or is for the pest management? And if it is pest management, is it for the monitoring, then do you believe that the traps should be at the perimeter of a block, or it should be in the middle of the field with the host?
Okay, the commodity there is cotton. I think you can see it. Can we appreciate that it is cotton?
Okay, yeah.
This
quite
is
similar to looks like okra.
You know that cotton and okra belong to the same family.
All right, okay.
Yeah, they belong to the same family of plants. So remember we said our application rate for pheromone trap is 1 trap per 5 acres. And if you placed it at the edge of the field, chances are that you are attracting pests which are actually outside the field. And then it's going to give you a wrong impression of the status of the pest in that field. For example, if you placed it at the edge of this field, and maybe there is another host plant, which is actually now not cotton, but is a host plant of false codling moth. Chances are that the male FCM, of course, will be drawn to the pheromone trap, but of course, the male FCM that is drawn to this trap is coming from a totally different field altogether, and it gives you a wrong impression. And therefore, it will influence the kind of decision that you will make, in regard to this field. I think that's my view. You have another question. And then you
yes, I have more questions.
Janice, after my responses, you'll still share your experiences with us.
Okay, yeah. We don't have, we are not use. I mean, we don't have false codling moth here in Fiji. We have the lepidopteran pest similar to false codling moth, like a Helicobacter and Spodoptera, but not the species of codling moth that you have it there. So that's why I'm more interested. So right now we're not doing anything like in any lepidopteran pest management. I mean the monitoring here in Fiji, which we do not need to do right now. With regards to the pheromones that you use,
that you keep it away.
Sorry.
It's important that Fiji keeps this pest away. If you can deter its entry, it's much better.
Yeah. So I guess our neighboring countries. Yeah, I guess our neighboring countries. They also do not have this pest. So the threat of getting this pest here in Fiji is very, very less. It's not a significant, I mean, not a significant threat, I would say. The another question is the lure that you using there. Can you provide us the supplier detail, maybe in the message box, mail to us?
Can you say that? Can you repeat that question?
The pheromone supplier, who is supplying the pheromone to you? So just let us know also.
Okay, we have in the region, I don't know for the Southern African region, but for the Eastern African region, we have specific international agricultural institutes that share with us lots of resources, including pheromone traps. We have Kabi. Kabi does share a lot of information actually on false codling moth, but we also have ICIPE. ICIPE is International Center for Insect Science, Insect Physiology and Ecology. Both are based in Nairobi. They share a lot of pest management tools and equipment with us in the region. So I really don't know what takes place in Southern African countries. Maybe they can share with us their experience. And I also think that countries, besides these two institutions, countries can still, procure them from other sources, probably from the European Union.
Okay. Another question is the first codling moth pupae. At what temperature it is not active? Or at what temperature it goes into the dormant stage?
Oh, I think
Is there any
in the literature, what I got is that temperatures definitely does affect their reproduction. And probably this explains why the pest is endemic to sub-Saharan Africa, where temperatures are high. And that tells you why the pest is not present in the temperate parts of the world. However, with the changing world climate, when even the cooler places become warm, chances are that this pest is likely, to expand its geographic range. I won't tell you right away what temperatures it goes into, let's say diapause, but all I know is that it's a pest of tropical regions. And I know Fiji is within the tropics, isn't it? Or subtropics. And therefore, you really need to guard against this pest. So no specific response in regard to these specific temperatures within which this pest goes into diapause. At least I didn't find it in the literature that I searched, but I know that it survives under warm temperatures and it produces more frequently under warm temperatures.
Thank you, Dr. Grace. I just want to share our experience with the pest here, the beetle pest belonging to the family of Scarabidae. So our experience, like I'm from west of Vitilevu, and what I have seen the pest, this beetle pest, it goes into the dormant stage in the dry season. And what happens is a pest of sugarcane. It feeds it's a cane grub. And what we have experienced and what we have seen that when after a long period of fry, this pest is not visible. But what happens, we are able to see this particular of pest during the raining period. As soon as there is a slight rain, we find it in our place, then we can see this pest is emerging slowly. So this shows that this pest is getting into the dormant stage in the pupa stage. So I was thinking the same similar characteristics this pest Codling moth is also sharing with this Carabits family. Okay, ma'am. Maybe I can do.
I have seen a post in the chat by Providence who says FCM has no diapause phase in temperate regions. Not sure about the cooler regions. But we don't have FCM in the temperate regions. Providence. Providence.
Okay, I have a.
Sorry,
Oh,
what
sorry,
region
okay.
are we in? What region are we in?
You are, I think, subtropics.
Yes, that's the one that I mean. That's the one that I mean. Yes.
Yeah.
Not temperate, yeah.
Not temperate,
But
yeah.
the cooler regions, from what we the case study that we did, they said FCM doesn't have diapause. It's found throughout the year from the videos that you provided for us in the sequences, yes.
Oh, okay, good, good. And that shows that you engaged with a lot with what we provided. Thank you very much. Janish, you still had one more question, I think.
I got one final question. With regards to the host plant resistance against the forest Codling moth, so is there any studies has been done on the capsicum especially? And if it is done, then what are the resistant variety? I mean, what are the characteristics of the plant that you have recorded, or maybe on the fruits against the forest Codling moth?
Janish, thank you for that last question. I think I can just refer you to the CABI website. They're the ones who have done a lot of work on false Codling moth. However, knowing capsicum as a fruit, normally its skin is generally very soft, but it's as if there are varietal, differences, as if there are significant differences in the varietal susceptibility to false Codling moth. However, details of such studies may have been done by CABI, but probably not the NPPO. And
Grace, I've shared that resource already. There's too much from CABI and even from the USAID and on Codling moth, where they live, they survive. So I'm sure you're not going to exhaust their structure, their way they live and that stuff right now. I think your focus should be on how do we survey them. So yes, but I've shared the information there already, so we can interact with that and the references they are in. So I don't know if you want to talk to Emma, ask Emma to give.
They are still post. Emma is saying as long as food is present, FCM does not go into diapause. Yeah, and normally within the tropics, most pests, by the way, do not go into diapause. They'll find they'll just find alternative hosts where they can hide when the season becomes harsh. And eventually they again emerge when the season becomes, when there's a lot of food. So Janice, if you look for CABI resources or CABI website, they have a lot of resources on false Codling moth. It should be in a better position to guide you.
I've shared that already. That's the second.
Thank you, Dr. Grace. I just have a, thank you very much, Dr. Frederick. I just have a comment, just a final one, sorry. This is very interesting. So I just suggested as a way forward, one day we should all go for the face-to-face classes for this. Maybe when the pandemic is over, please do invite us for this training. We are happy to join. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
That's very good. We also want to come to Fiji and see what the Fijian NPPO, is doing it.
Yeah, and I would recommend that you put that in the training evaluation. You're going to have that at the end of today's session.
You are welcome to Paradise, Dr. Grace and Dr. Frederick.
We may not come back to our countries as a problem. Now, I'll join your rugby team, I think, if I come. Now, Grace, a question from Janesh also about the sexual dimorphic of this false codling moth. But I think I would post the response on the chat. So Emma, you have a question. Emma, go.
I just have a contribution. Are you able to take us back to the slide for false codling moth where it had the wingspan spread? I think it was just at the beginning of the presentation.
Okay, in a second. There we go.
This.
Yes.
Emma,
yeah.
Okay.
Yes. One of the characteristics that to help people identify this moth is the yellow band. There's a bright yellow band just at the edge of the wings. I don't know if you've seen it. The yellow band, all along the margins of the wings, there's a characteristic yellow band. So this is a very important feature that helps us know that this is a false codling moth adult. Thank you.
That's good contribution, Emma, and at the NPPOs, kindly take note of that.
So Grace, on that part of Q&A, I think, Sarah?
Yes, so we are done with the second activity. I think there are no more, anyone with more questions? Participants, do you have any more questions before we go for break? Providence?
Okay.
Yes, Providence.
Okay. Maybe this might not be might not be on monitoring or surveillance, but it's on the use of the pheromone traps for mating disruption for FCM. Yeah, it's worked. If you had where it has worked, where it has been very effective for controlling FCM, mating disruption using pheromone traps. Thank you. And what are how many traps would you need per hectare to put that way to be effective?
Oh, this is a question, Providence.
Yes.
You are asking using the pheromone trap to interfere with the mating cycle of false codling moth.
Yes, for mating disruption, yes. They say if you put so many pheromones in the environment, then the moths will be confused and they will not know which way to go for mating when they're looking for mates. Then it will lower the populations of the prey subsequently. So have you seen any places where it has worked, or is it even, can we even do it for FCM, or it's not possible?
I think if you are going to use pheromone trap as a control method, you know, by denying the mating process, that scientifically is a method that is valid. However, maybe the cost of the trap itself, because that would imply that you're actually putting more pheromone traps vis-a-vis if you're using the pheromone traps just for surveillance. So probably it may be, it could be having cost inhibition. But practically, I've not seen it in my country being used, but I know you can actually use it to, you know, interfere with the mating. The issue is the cost. I don't know how much, maybe Mildred, you could tell us how much a pheromone trap costs, or just anyone could tell us how much a pheromone trap costs. One. It's a methodology that can be used. It's more or less like, one would say would mimic sterile insect technique. But in this case, you are luring the males. For the SIT, you are actually releasing sterile insects into the population, and you're still interfering with the mating. So it's the cost implication which might be. And for you actually to justify that providence, the value of the commodity crop should be very high. Remember that we are normally constrained in terms of finances. You can use it, but look at also the value of the commodity crop that you are installing these traps in.
Yes, pheromone traps range between from about 90 US dollar to about 120 US dollar. That's the kind of price. Yes, per trap. Yes, that's the kind of price if I have to go with eBay.
Expensive. That's expensive, and therefore the installation should just justify, you know, the price at which you will sell your commodity.
But you see, you're putting one per 5 acre.
Yeah, but 1 per 5 acre when you're using it for surveillance.
Yes, yes.
Remember, in this instance, you're actually using it as a control method.
Yeah.
So you might be forced to put more in
yes. Yeah, and that could be a little bit expensive depending on the. Actually, you're right. Depending on the cost on the crop. I think Mulatu has a question. Mulatu,
how is Addis Ababa?
Yeah, Addis Ababa. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And send us.
Okay. Yeah, I want to. I need some clarification about this false codling moth. Yesterday, I was doing the sequence, the assignment. The question was that it was impossible to establish this FSM from the capsicum, the commodity. So how is it? Is it impossible to establish some area from false codling moth? Can you explain me?
Okay, I didn't quite get you clearly. There were sort of like echoes, but I think you are sort of like asking if it's possible to establish an area free of false codling moth.
Yeah. The question, it was that question, is it true or false question? Yesterday I did that because the sequence questions, but the answer was that it is impossible. It is impossible to establish free from this codling, false codling moth from the area.
Okay, I've taken note. If you allow me to respond, the first response is that module 5 doesn't have an assignment.
Yeah.
So if you did it, you probably did it illegally. However,
okay.
I think he's talking about the sequences. In the sequence, there are a few questions inside there.
Yeah.
So I think there's one about false codling moth in the sequences.
Yeah.
Okay, Mulatu, in my opinion, it's possible. And the possibility is like this. If you are working or if you are producing in confinement in a greenhouse is totally different from a screen house. If you are producing capsicum in a greenhouse, and then you have established your capsicum, and you are applying all measures possible, routine surveillance coupled with routine other pest management practices, And then there is an ISPM that enables you use a combination of methods. I think ISPM 24, we need to cross-check it, on systems approach, where you can use, the construction itself, the way the greenhouse is constructed. If it is insect proof, you combine it, let's say with let's say the pheromone trap that we are familiar with. And if we are combining these two, because under systems approach, you use two or more methods, which are totally different, but the ultimate goal is that you'll achieve your objective of totally containing out the pests. So it's possible.
Okay, how about the open field? Open field. How about open field?
Possible.
Okay.
Mulato, in the field, it's not possible. You can only establish a pest-free area in confinement production.
Okay.
Remember also that Collier CP gave countries like 4 options. One option is a pest-free country, which we don't have in Africa. So false codling moth, we don't have pest-free country in sub-Saharan African countries. So that one is out. Then pest-free site, pest-free production site is an option also given by the EU. We also don't have a pest-free production area, for example, in Africa. You cannot establish it and maintain it as long as it is in the field. So you can only come back and establish this under another option, which is in confinement. And then you're using other combinations of systems approach.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Oramagapi's hand is up.
Yes, Oramogape.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Very clearly.
Yes,
Okay, okay,
yes,
just
it's
a
very
small one.
clear.
Just to add to what Mulatu was saying, I think in the notes, it's saying, but then if you go down the notes, they also now come on to say, so I think the realistic answer should be, it's difficult, but not impossible.
Yeah.
Because it gives that you can try that with other options, but it will be a very difficult exercise. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I'm going to get the relevant resources. There's a resource shared by Collier CP. I'll get it and then attach it for you or upload it on the model platform for you. It is so specific about false codling moth. And it gives you these 4 options that I'm talking about.
Okay, so I think if you have any more questions, just post on the chat because of time. So now we are going for a break. It was to be 10 minutes, but I think let's go for 5 minutes break. So it's 11, it's 1 minute past, sorry?
Dr. Sarah, no coffee?
No coffee today. You can take coffee for 5 minutes. So it's 1 minute past 11 on my side here. Let's meet at 6 minutes past 11. So just mute and don't leave the meeting. Welcome back. Are we here?
Oh, yes, we are.
Okay. So next we are doing the group assignment for presentation. So we had two groups. We'll start with group one. Group one had Mulatu, Gosai, Takawira, Elisa, and Emma. Kindly one of you make the presentation. Group one members. So the presentations are 5 minutes per group. Let's try to keep time. If group one are not ready, we can start with group two. Group two, are we ready? Jainesh, Providence, Mildred, Nilesh, Ramogapi.
Yes, Sarah, group two is ever ready. And I have the pleasure of asking Ramogapi and Providence. Thank you.
So Ramogapi is on presenting or Providence?
I suppose Ramogapi can start and then Providence can carry on from there.
Ramogapi, you need to unmute yourself and make the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Can you, if you have it that side, can you just share it?
Did you already submit it?
Did you submit?
No, Nilesh said the sharing. Thank you so much, Nilesh, for that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I'll start with the report from Fiji on the steps for designing an effective pest surveillance and monitoring program. Okay, just go down. Okay. So one of the steps will be to design of a pest surveillance specifically for a detection survey. So that is the one that we're starting with. So the detection survey will specifically be for fruit flies belonging to all Tephratide family. And then the brown marmorated stink bug, the fall armyworm, the red imported fire ants, the giant African snail, the coconut rhinoceros beetle, the Asian gypsy moth, the taro leaf blight, the Codling disease, the bacterial clown rot, the sugarcane smut, kennel smut, the lethal yellow disease, the brown tree snake. So this is more like the target of the survey. And then the monitoring the fruit flies already present in, they're already present in Fiji. So the horticultural production sectors are monitored for the fruit fly populations, and these species that we know are already there. Those are the Bacterocera, the other pests that are listed there. And then we also have the Asian sub-terrain termites. The populations are monitored in the buffer and neighboring red zones for any signs. So identified pest colonies are immediately treated with the correct dose of pesticides and monitored for extended periods towards the eradication of the colony. So these are the pests that, based on previous experience, we know they are already there. And then sampling and collection method. Samples are obtained from the strategically placed traps and through regular intervals. The traps with loose combined with contact pesticides are used for detection survey. Traps are monitored every 2 weeks and samples obtained are submitted in a timely manner to the labs for diagnosis. Information in the sampling packages contains the date of the trap, clearance, locations of trap, GSP coordinates, and the host. So this is more like taking care of the data to ensure that it is not tampered with. And then identification, the samples obtained from the surveillance are submitted to the laboratory for screening, diagnosis, and identification. Teams conducting pest identifications are the laboratory technicians and specialists. So this is more like now converting the data that we have collected into information. And then the sampling of the larvae. For fruit flies, hosts fruits from different locations are brought to the labs, and destructive sampling is conducted by desetting it for larvae presence. Larvae obtained from the fruits are immediately killed in hot water for a few seconds, and it is preserved in absolute ethanol. Later, the larvae is identified morphologically. If the scientific team are not satisfied with any diagnosed result, or if there is any doubt, further identification of larvae is done using molecular methods. So this is more to do with ensuring that this exercise does not lead to the spreading of the pests. And then in terms of information management, the sampling data are accurately recorded in the fields. Upon delivery of samples together with data sheet to the labs, the actual specimens are diagnosed and identified, and the results are recorded in a spreadsheet, which is kept under direct control of the IT section. These sensitive data are used by the NPPO to negotiate trade and market access pathways with counterparts with other NPPOs. And then occupational safety, first aid kits and protective clothing are used for all biosecurity officers. Additional packet is kept in a vehicle for emergency use if required in the field. In addition, the labs are also well equipped with a full OHS and PPE compliance. And then in terms of stakeholder engagements, there are collaborations with the industry groups or relevant stakeholders. And then there is also engagement with scientists who work in partnership with the NPPO, playing an advisory role. And then they also hold quarterly meetings. And then in terms of logistics support services and assets, the NPPO is well-structured, has a well-structured logistics network to conduct surveillance activities with proper vehicles, so more like a sufficient resources. I'm just gonna quickly go through it. And then in terms of data storage, all surveillance data is stored in a hard drive where the IT officials are controlling the stored data on site as well as off site for disaster recovery. So this is just to ensure the security of the data. And then our awareness and advocacy, public awareness sessions and mass media publications are also undertaken through video clips and on television. And then there are also rewards and recognitions for informers, submitters, and reporters of pests that lead to successful identifications. So this is just to encourage reporting of pests. And then emergency response plans, general and specific ERP are pre-discussed and mock run conducted just to ensure that you don't get any surprises in the field. And then early detection surveillance designed to detect new pest incursions before they enter and become widely established, increasing the chances of a successful eradication or containment process. And then in terms of market access surveillance to demonstrate the absence of a pest from Fiji provinces or regions, just mainly to support market access and domestic areas. And then the delimiting surveys, these are done on the distribution of and spread of pests for use in response management, containment and control. And then improve pest management. The established pests are also managed through regular inspections to determine their population, so that if there are trigger levels, then they are able to be established. And then identification of high-risk pathways and high-risk areas to focus on efforts on future surveillance that may lead towards early pest mitigations for developmental benefits. So Fiji uses a mix of targeted and general surveillance programs. And then let's move down. And then how is, just move down. Okay, then we look at the experiences. Biosecurity Authority of Fiji is mostly following the surveillance procedures similar to the New Zealand MPI, as extensive training have been provided by this agency. So the same process and procedures have been illustrated according to, so they more like follow the IPPC guidelines. And then the pest surveillance programs that Fiji prepares are very similar to the standardized one. The major difference being that different countries of NPPO do focus on working on different species of exotic pests. So they are guided by their national priorities. And then also countries have different climatic conditions. So for example, Austria does not obviously prioritize fruit flies, while Australia does. Therefore, these experiences, therefore the experiences in Fiji will also differ a bit from other countries. And then moving on to Zimbabwe, in terms of legislation and policy alignment, the NPPO uses the Plant Pest and Diseases Act as an enabling regulation. Prioritization, they engage key stakeholders, and then in terms of planning, they lay out the proposed program implementation, covering the timelines, the frequency, and then activities. They also do capacity building for the concerned staff in areas such as identification, sampling, preservation, storage, and so on. And then in terms of the costing and budgeting, they establish the cost of implementing the program and source funding for it. And then protocol development, the purpose or the objective, the target pests or pest pathways or commodities, timing, frequency, areas, or site selection, statistical design. So that is more when they are developing the surveillance program. And then data collection, the question administration and interviews with selected respondents. So they use questionnaires to administer that. And then sample collection. So they use field inspection. And then they also do laboratory analysis and diagnosis, data capturing and analysis, and then reporting and communication. And then they also engage stakeholders in terms of their findings and then way forward. And then they also ensure that data is securely stored for future references. And then how does the guidelines differ or similar to their own? On IPPC 2016 guidelines, so they follow the plant pest surveillance section 2 on organizational arrangement into the national legislation. As I talked earlier, they use that the plant protection policy that I talked about. And then prioritization depends on the economic impact of the pests. So they more like look at their priorities, national priorities. So the activities that need to be conducted in pest monitoring and surveillance for harmful organisms, just go down. Go down.
Could be internet problem.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe you can just summarize the rest of the parts, what is remaining.
Okay, yeah, but basically, I think looking at all the presentation from others, it does look like most countries they do follow the guidelines as presented by IPPC, but then the only difference is that due to their difference in the national priorities, they will also be now trying to adjust their processes or methods to fit into those priorities. So even in terms of pests, because countries have pests of importance different due to their different priorities or their market access requirements. So that is where the difference is. So in a nutshell, I think when I go through all the presentations, that is what I saw. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you, Ramogapi, for that presentation. So now we go back to group 1. Are you ready? Group 1, who is presenting?
Hi, Sarah. Yes, we've been ready. Sorry, maybe I took a little bit over 5 minutes for the coffee break. And when you called us to present the last time, maybe I was not here. So I don't know if anybody else had this difficulty, but the site, I mean, I was not able to upload the group assignment for a very long time today, but I managed to do it now while we were having this session.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can pull up the assignment if Enclebet or Emma or Elisa or Mulato wants to present for the group. If not, then I can do it. So yeah.
Gosai, just go ahead.
Okay, are you able to see the screen that I'm sharing now?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, you are. Okay, cool. Okay, and yeah, just to again quickly highlight my coffee friend. Unfortunately, we again did not receive a submission. Maybe you uploaded it through your own portal on module 4, sorry, and that is why it is not included in this overall document for the group. So maybe you might have to go alone again today at the end of the presentation. So I'll try to make this very brief and finish. It's 8:25 here, so I'll try to finish by 8:30. So we had Enclebet from Zimbabwe, Emma from Zambia, Elisa from Malawi, myself and Mulato in this group. For Zimbabwe, I think more or less all of us have kept the same structure in the sense that we've talked about in terms of the design element for effective pest surveillance program. We have talked about the target pest and the commodity combination. What is the scope of the survey, the timing of the survey, data collection statistics, and the survey methodology as well as stakeholder engagement. So for Zimbabwe, Enclebet has talked about fall armyworm surveillance in his country. So that was their target pest, and the commodity was, of course, all of the host materials that fall armyworm can attack, which is, of course, a lot. And the scope was to conduct the survey in the maize areas of the country, as well as in borders that deal with maize imports. And the timing was timed in such a way that the survey coincided with the maize active growth stages for sampling. And the import was very active in the period starting August. So the survey lasted for 3 years, and after detection survey was completed. Their data collection was completed in the field, and these were kept electronically. Methodology, which included collection of damaged maize and samples for analysis in the lab. And the management of fall armyworm was based on understanding of the biology of the pest. Purpose of the survey was done using border controls and maize imports, and also use of chemicals to kill the larvae. Similar to what I think there was something mentioned by group 2 on larvae killing and identification. Information on pests was managed by both biometrics and plant protection and Plant Quarantine Institute, so the NPPO in Zimbabwe. And there was, of course, stakeholder engagement, and some of the seed co. So the seed houses in Zimbabwe, as well as the universities, combined with the NPPO to conduct this surveillance. Engelbert mentions that from his experience on designing pest surveillance as a member of the IPPC, we used the 2016 guideline. And on the part of the stakeholders, not many were interested in funding the program. So that is always a concern, a good point brought up by Engelbert. The problem, I guess, was that they didn't have enough information on the extent of damage and losses they could face because of this pest. Moving on to Zambia, again, similar format. So Emma from Zambia talks about fruit flies, and the commodity is blueberries. The survey was conducted on a farm called Zambezi Berry, situated in the Chongwe district. The timing, the survey was done when blueberry fruits begin to grow, and the fruit fly adults are available as a result of the presence of the fruit in which the adult insects oviposit or lay their eggs. Then she's talked about the different data collection methodologies and submission to the lab, of course, for identification by the technical officers and entomologists. Survey methodology, detection survey was undertaken to determine pest presence, and it included a combination of sampling, trapping using lures and pheromones, and visual inspection or scouting. Communication was also a big part of their surveillance program. And interesting that after surveillance was completed, the information gathered was shared with the NPPO of China for market access negotiations. Zambia is a member of the IPPC, and as a result, adheres to guidelines provided in the IPPC ISPM number 6, the 2016 version, the most latest version. Moving on to Malawi, Elisa talked about the purpose or objectives of the surveillance as well. And he mentions that in Malawi, the purpose was to detect the presence of maize chlorotic mottle virus, one of the pathogens that causes male lethal necrosis disease. Scope of the surveillance, here the geographical coverage was from the entry points all through the lakeshore areas of Lake Malawi and in major maize producing areas. The target organism was maize chlorotic mottle virus, of course, MCMV on maize crop. He's talked about the timing, which took into consideration the pest life cycle and the growing season of maize. And of course, target was, the timing was during the vegetative stage. The area or site selection, Elisa mentioned the pest is reported, where the pest is reported and where host plants are grown. This was done in major maize producing areas and along the border sites where maize consignments could pass from Tanzania as this pest is reported in Tanzania. Statistical design was used, of course. Data collection included its transfer to information management systems, and new point brought up here that biosecurity and sanitation was practiced to ensure that the pest wasn't being, or the virus wasn't being moved around during surveillance. The maize samples were collected and tested on site using strip test kits. Again, there is concurrence or agreement that when it comes to surveillance, all of us more or less in one way or another follow guidelines under ISPM number 6, which is tweaked more or less to local conditions. For Fiji, because we also discussed this assignment here together, the participants from Fiji, it is more or less similar, not the same. We have included some different information as well. So pretty similar to what Group 1 presented, but in this compilation, I tried to sort of capture the overall picture in terms of the design elements of effective pest surveillance and monitoring. So when it comes to targeting the pests and commodities in Fiji, I talked about some of our new detection surveys that were established very recently. And this is for pests that are not present in Fiji, but are emerging threats internationally or regionally. Then I also mentioned about new detection surveys to collect absence data. So this is important for our trade and market access, very important for trade in particular, because these pests are not present in Fiji. And we were collecting absence data from production areas. And then we also talked about what are some of the existing detection surveys and existing monitoring surveys. How we determine the scope, how the sites are selected is also discussed. The timing, which is mostly for detection surveys, is all year round. And the traps are serviced at regular intervals as is determined in the survey methodology. So this can be fortnightly, monthly, or quarterly, dependent on many factors. I've also talked about data collection and information management. I've talked about our survey methodology, how stakeholders are engaged and kept informed, the awareness and advocacy components of Fiji's pest surveillance programs, as well as how this is managed through resources. And what are some of the other considerations for pest monitoring and surveillance design. But I think in terms of the observance of the guidelines in ISPM number 6, I just wanted to briefly mention that under organizational arrangements, as is stated in that guide that we are talking about. So there's ISPM number 6, and there's a guide in how ISPM number 6 can be implemented. So in terms of aligning to some of those guidelines under organizational arrangements, we have national legislation that supports surveillance. Funding is through the government, or it is internally funded by the Biosecurity Authority of Fiji, the NPPO. Management of the surveillance programs, provision of human resources, as well as information management is all in-house. Communication is through the NPPO's public relations team, as well as our operations team, so team on the ground. In terms of planning and prioritization, I think this entire component is managed by the BEF plant scientific team, which is the brains trust for the protection of Fiji's plant health and plant resources. And in terms of the operation, this is a combination of BEF working with our monitoring and surveillance teams, or the operations team on the ground, as well as working with the stakeholders so that our surveillance is holistic, in the sense that there might be some types of surveillance that we do not undertake. Say, for example, pest surveys that are conducted by the Ministry of Agriculture or the Ministry of Forestry, by the Sugar Research Institute of Fiji's, all of their surveillance programs feed into the overall surveillance jigsaw puzzle of Fiji's NPPO. So these are some of the things that I talked about in Fiji's group assignment submission. Sorry, Sarah, I've gone 5 minutes overboard. But
okay.
that is it from our group. And Mulato, if you have your submission, then you can present, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Gosai, for the presentation. So Mulatu, did you do the group assignment? Oh.
No, I didn't do.
Okay, so just make sure you try to complete it and then upload it to Moodle.
Okay, I will.
Okay. So welcome, Grace.
Yeah, thank you so much, both groups, for your very exhaustive presentation. There's a post on the chat. Let me see. Emma is saying the group questions have been tackled differently. Her observation is that the first group answered differently from each other, and there was a difference between both groups. Is this okay? Or maybe we didn't really understand how to go about it. I think from us, the trainers, we will consider when we review the assignments to give you the marks. We'll consider that, of course, you are coming from different NPPOs. That one, we take that into consideration, and that you probably never had time, to come together. Bearing in mind that the participants from Fiji are at their night time, and from Africa, we are still in the daytime, and therefore coming together becomes difficult. However, we shall also take into account the fact that each member has made an attempt, to exhaustively discuss what takes place in their own situations. So I think in our own view, both presentations are exhaustive enough, and should be awarded the marks that they deserve. We will not penalize you for this. And this is why, Mulato, please go ahead and do your group assignment and submit. My comment would be that both groups, I think, did mention how they have utilized the guidelines provided by the IPPC, the document of 2016, which outlines the processes, the procedures, including the necessary infrastructures that NPPOs would use to support their pest surveillance systems. You might also combine that with the provisions of the other ISPMs that are relevant for pest surveillance. And I also want to just make an overall summary of the presentations so far, and say that all our systems are different. We take that into consideration, that we are coming from different backgrounds. All the NPPOs have different systems, but of course, there are areas where we merge, where things are done in a similar manner. And that is brought about by the NPPOs, utilizing the available ISPMs. And the capacities of the NPPOs to utilize or put the ISPMs into practice, of course, depends on the areas that they will have prioritized. If your country has prioritized pest surveillance, then you will find pest surveillance featuring actually in most of your NPPO activities. What is also coming out clearly is that when NPPOs congregate and pool resources together as a region, say for example, if the Southern African region congregated, and probably Eastern African and Western and Northern, or if we congregate as African continent, like we are seeing that the Oceania is congregating around the methodologies and the approaches used by New Zealand and Australia. So if we congregated, using the regional approach, we make our systems much stronger. We also then don't duplicate, programs. I'm saying this because, for example, if you take the case of the pests called Tuta absoluta, one country could be doing all that it takes, to contain the pest, and yet a neighboring country is doing nothing. So all your efforts end up being watered down. Your efforts are just becomes actually literally not very useful because the other neighbor is not taking any action. So pulling resources together becomes very, 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 very important. I think these are some of the key areas that we've picked from this particular training. Our systems are different and therefore need harmonization. Most of the NPPOs focus on specific pest surveillance. They tend to leave out general pest surveillance. We need actually to combine the two and make our systems very effective. ISPMs are being used. However, the ISPMs that are being used are also prioritized, particularly the ones that facilitate our trade with trading partners. So the prioritization, of course, depends on the capacities of our nations. And finally, congregating or coming together, pooling resources as regions is very key in pest management and, of course, pest surveillance, to be specific. I think I want to thank both groups very, very much. We've come a long way. Today marks the end of our training. We are not ending yet, but thank you for, being there and being there.
Thank you,
I
Grace.
think just to add something a little about what Grace has said about the concern of Emma. The objective of the assignment was to elicit your understanding and your experience on the IPPC 2016, and then how do you see that your experience vis-a-vis what is like the documented protocol, and then do attention to what you're really missing on, and then you can see now how to adjust your everyday routine or practice to meet that guideline. That was the aim of the assignment. So there won't be a right or wrong answer. It will all depend on, because your experience and mine will be different, even if you're working on the same pest, actually. And so that's what we're picking from you. That's why, so it is you giving us your experience, and then you look at the IPPC guideline and then see how the two compare. And then now say, okay, fine, I've been making a mistake here, or look like I've been doing A, B, C, and D, which is not consistent with the protocol. And then now you learn how to readjust. So that was the aim of the assignment. So don't worry about them being different. Actually, they're supposed to be different. In fact, I would be expecting a Gosai's response and Nilesh and Jainesh response to be different, though they're from the same NPPO, really, because each of them must have had a different experience in doing the pest surveillance. So don't worry about them being different. That's the essence of the thing. So back to you, Sarah. And thanks so much, participants, for that wonderful discussion.
Sarah,
before
you take up the floor, Luyando, today you have not spoken. Can we hear your voice? Is Luyando there?
Yes, can hear you.
Okay, good. I just wanted to draw your attention to your submission on the Moodle platform, that it will be reviewed. I just want also to tell the rest of the participants that all the assignments that you have submitted, all of them will be reviewed. Not a single one will be left out.
Yeah, even if you're late in submitting.
Yeah, and that's why we are waiting. We are urging Mulatu to do his.
It's okay to be busy. I know you're very busy. It's okay. And your work could be so strenuous. I know it's okay. Kindly just try and submit the assignments. Yeah. But we'll talk about that when you finish up the discussion as we end up. So Sarah, back to you.
Sarah.
Okay, so our next activity is about review of the 4 modules that we've just covered. So I take it to Dr. Frederick to continue.
Thank you so much, Sarah. So I think I'll share my screen real quick. Participants, this is the modules that you have covered in this training. The objective of the training was to bring up to speed with the pest surveillance and any emerging issues in it, and of course the guideline that is being defined by the IPPC 2016, and of course in perspective of the EU as a co-trading partner in most of products. So in the first two modules, basically the presentation module here, you are just supposed to get to know who CP is. Yes, just get to know who they are and what interests are they having. And then, so basically that, not just bring up to speed with the task that CP is engaging in this Fit for the Market program that they're having right now. And then in the welcome onboard tile, here, we were bringing to speed on what is the expectation of this training, the training objective, and basically how the training ran. And then of course, get to learn about who we are, I and Grace and Sarah, we're all here. And then your task here was that you're supposed to tell us your expectation in this training, which I think all of you guys have done. And then next thing was supposed to give us a knowledge question to make us understand you, and then get to know your need and expectations. And then after that, then of course you have a recording of the training here so that you're able to catch up with a few things that you put in place at the beginning of the training. And then now week one, we focused on basically surveillance. What is it? Okay. What are the intrigues behind it? What is the legislation requirement? What are the policies? What is monitoring? All general information about surveillance. So that's what we covered in module one. And the objective of this module was that you basically understand the importance of pest surveillance in plant health, and how to prioritize pest surveillance, and able to communicate even that to the key stakeholders and the public, and even to the authorities, to be able to explain that and to define that. And then the next bit was that to understand your role and your responsibility in that perspective. So that basically, in essence, was and of course, bring up to speed with the ISPMs that now shape the discussion of pest surveillance. So that was the objective, the general goal of the module one. Then in module two, having understood the pest surveillance or sanitary monitoring in general terms, there was need now to appreciate the theories, the protocols, the guidelines that have been defined by the respective consortiums that governs what we have done in module one. And that was the theme for module two. And so here, the objective was basically to bring up to speed with these ISPMs. The key ones, of course, there's so many from 1 up to 57. But then there are core ones that I think the other ones are built on. So it was important that to bring this up to speed, you up to speed on that. And then also contextualize for you the pest monitoring, national monitoring system, the pest surveillance in the context of national monitoring system. Of course, in a generalized case of any structure, and then you're able to domesticate this for your own NPPU. And then, of course, the assignments are available. So you see here, we focus on the SPM 6, which actually the basis for surveillance, and then we focus on the national monitoring system. And then, so of course, the recordings are here for your reference in case you missed on something. And then now having done understood the sanitary systems, and you have understood the theory and the protocols behind that, the next bit now was to dig into each of those surveillance types. And the first one, of course, of interest to us was the specific general surveillance. So we focused on general surveillance in module 3. And of course, here you are supposed to bring up to speed on what are the elements, approaches, and applications of general surveillance. If you want to design a general surveillance system or program, or you want to liberate people, the public, to do large-scale surveillance, what are the intrigues? How do you do it? How have you been doing it? And what can you improve on? So that's what we covered in module 3. And then module 4 now, which is the current week we are in, we have dealt with specific monitoring system monitoring program. Having done this general surveillance program last week, now this week we focus on specific monitoring. And of course, here the attention was to draw you to the types of specific monitoring systems and how do you mobilize your resources and your capacity to be able to deliver that. So we did that on Monday, and as I shared with you on Monday, this is going to be a little bit of more work this week. So we had two tasks, two modules this week. Module 4, which was focusing on the specific monitoring, which actually have interacted with it. Then the other module now was focusing on how do you put all that you have discussed from the general surveillance and introduction to the theories, the general surveillance, the specific surveillance. How do you put this into perspective? So we consider that you have an experience most likely with designing and implementing a surveillance program for either for a pest or for pests. So in today's session, we just needed to reemphasize a few things and be sure that you are able to contextualize the surveillance program. And so we took first Codling Moth was considered for this discussion. And the reason is that it's Kinderleucomines in major part of Africa. Then much I've shared with you there about from the Stellenbosch University, you're gonna see the distribution of horse Codling moth in the world. Actually, major part of it is in Africa and a little bit in South America. So it's not found on the Asian and the Caribbean. So for some reason, so go check. So we needed to now talk about use that as a case study here, and that's what today you've been discussing on, and you have had interaction in. And then of course there are a few questions here, the sequence and a few questions they are in that's supposed to have interacted with. Now, to that end, that is what was supposed to is all the package of the course of the train that you are delivered. So that then marks the end of this session. Now, you have had assignments that we are supposed to engage with, which I think we have all done that. Few of us have been sluggish, but don't worry, get time and finish them up as soon as you can so that you're able to wind up. Now, assignment 4 for this week, I know we have not graded. It's because we up to the date in the evening, you have not received assignment submissions. I don't have 2 submissions. So I'm hoping that you're able to submit them and then able to grade them. Now, last part of this session now, I think I'll come to that in a moment. So I want to stop here for now and then post back to us on what is your takeaway from this training so far? What one thing are you taking home from this session that you have had for this last 8 or 9 sessions that you have had since we began the training? So I want to post that to us. I don't know, Grace, I think I can go country-wise or I can go individual-wise. Mulata want to go fishing. Mulata should go fishing. No, he's going to bring us coffee. Okay, I'm seeing that from the chat. So what to take away? I would wish to hear from each one of us. I think we are just few of us. Just take 1 minute. You will be requesting for 10 minutes of our time so that we finish at 12:10. But then just real quick, just take a minute, tell us what to take away from this training and what one thing that you have learned. Don't care about many things, just 1 or 2 that you have gotten that was from this training. So I don't know why I feel like I want to start with Gosai. Gosai, for some reason I just choose you all normally.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Fred. I get to be the guinea pig to start off with. No, I think you know what's important for us to really, or for me personally, to take home from this training is that all of us had our own ideas and understanding of pest surveillance from the NPPO viewpoint. But I think participating in this training, we've all learned that the application of the harmonized standard under the IPPC can be different in different locations, depending on where we come from and the different or the unique challenges that we face. And of course, this provides the opportunity to learn from each other and to see how the standards are localized to country situations and then implemented accordingly, of course, without giving away or without compromising any of the standards or the requirements, but tweaked in a way that it makes sense for you in your own localities, and you achieve the objectives that you have set out for yourself, or the purpose of the surveillance at the end of the day, in terms of whether it is early warning surveillance that you've implemented, or whether it is for a declaration of a pest-free area, and so on. But yeah, in essence, what I'm trying to say is that we had our own ideas of ISPM number 6 and how this might be, or how this is applied in our own countries. But now we have come to know and realize that there's so much more to learn from all the different resources that are available in relation to phytosanitary pest surveillance, and also that we can all learn from each other. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you so much, Gosai. That is beautiful. I think we'll make a discussion about our experiences at the end of the sharing. So let me go to, I don't know, definitely I'm going to Mulatu before he goes pig hunting as Jainesh. Stop being interesting. Jainesh, I want this guy to go for pig hunting. Mulatu, are you going for pig hunting or fishing or coffee? Unmute and tell us experience.
Yeah, coffee, if you...
Mulatu, I miss Bekele. Tell him I really missed him in this training.
Okay, yeah, I will tell him, and I will provide materials. Yeah, so, but you know, this training is the first time for me, so I understand so many things. And I can take many experience and knowledge from this training, because you know, we have no experience about general surveillance, and we have not developed these procedures in our country. So I take experiences, and I take how to design and implement general surveillance and specific surveillance. So I'm so happy to take all the experiences, modules, and some important books also. So I take all necessary knowledge and experiences from different countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mulatu. Happy to hear that. I know we were to have you in the official controls in, I think, in May or something, but then some lapse in communication, so I could not go to have you in the training.
Yeah, I will attend.
Thank you so much. Emma.
Okay.
I've even forgotten the question. Just come over it again.
Emma, you are a good guy.
Emma, that's not being serious.
We
On
just
the last day.
Yes, we wanted to know what is your one thing that taking away from this training? Your take home or take away?
Okay. Yeah, my take home is I've really appreciated the guidance that is found in the IPPC 2016 and the ISPMs that we have interacted with. And as such, for me, it will not end here. I will have to constantly review and read, especially when I have a challenge, when I'm doing my surveillance. I know where to go and refer to. Yeah, so for me, I've learned a lot of things that I didn't know, and I'll keep learning as I continue to interact with the materials that you have provided. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was somebody from Zambia, right, Grace? It was our first time in Zambia, right? So we are so happy. Jainesh, you are next on my list here.
Thank you, Dr. Frederick. What I experienced and what I'm going to take from this exercise, I mean, the course or during this training, whatever we did, basically, is related to the ISPM, and so going through the ISPM is very difficult for us, like one by one to every ISPM. But when we relate our this exercise, the assignment with the ISPM activity, whatever the content, I consider this as a mock run. So at the end of the training, I see that what we did is very refreshing. And at the end of the day, we know that yes, we are at the correct part. And whatever gaps we identify, where we are lacking, we can upgrade ourselves. We can fix that. So it's a very good, I consider this is a very good training. And on the other hand, we got to learn that different countries have different plans of work in different insect pests. Likewise, we have also the different, say for example, fruit flies, we don't have that pest that what Africa got it or what Zambia got it. And same as Zambia don't have that pest what we have here. So we know the potential damage would be same, but we don't want exotic. So it's good to see also like which country is managing or different kind of pests. Thank you, Dr. Frederick.
Thank you so much, Inesh. That is so wonderful. Elisa, hi. What did you take away from this?
Hi, thank you so much for this training. I would first of all like to indicate that this was a very informative training in which I have noted that there are a lot in surveillance that will guide or provide information in making decisions to indicate for best situation in a territory. And we have also noted that this is a guidance which is showing the responsibilities of the industry as well as the responsibilities of the NPPO and even other stakeholders that would provide information to provide what really the surveillance outcome could provide. In market access, we have also seen the importance of surveillance, what it can do in terms of informing trading partners on the situation of pests. So we are seeing that several ISPMs are involved, which are providing on how the surveillance has to be conducted and providing, even pointing to the roles and responsibilities of each party, including the NPPO, the industry, and other research institutions that deal with the plant protection. So we are very much thankful that this has been done, and we have seen that there are several, I would say, two types of surveillance, where we are looking at the general surveillance as well as specific, in trying to understand what pest situation is, or even identifying if it's available or not. So I would like to appreciate all the efforts that the trainers have put in providing all this information, availing it to all participants participating, so that we are aware of how this surveillance has to be conducted. There are so many things that I would have indicated, but I would have to stop here because of the timing. And thank you so much for everything, for being a good trainer. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elisa. You are also among the first we're having from Malawi. And we tell David that we are really looking forward to seeing him. That is Kamangira. Tell him we really missed him. I know he's pretty busy, I know, and the results available still. Maybe you can check them later, even on YouTube. But these materials are also available on YouTube, so you can check them there. Don't worry. So pass it guys to Kamangira. Okay, Lisa? Tell them you really miss him.
In fact, Kamangira works with us.
Yeah.
And he's our contact person for the IPPC as well.
Beautiful.
Yes, so he would have wished to have attended this, because even I registered to attend and participate, but because of other equally important engagements, he has been on off. And We appreciate. In fact, every time when we are through, I would have even given him a feedback of what has happened.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I want to go to Providence. And Providence, you have a memo from Jainesh. He's saying that you need to switch on your camera because this is the day. That is his memo. Otherwise, what you take away from home, away from Providence. And by the way, I think for the sake of networking, can share your Facebook profile here. We can add you to just for the sake of networking. So I think it's important, as Jainesh has just done. So Providence.
Jainesh, is it Monday? I thought Monday is past already. Why do I have to share my camera? Okay. Let me share my camera with you guys.
Thank you so much.
Okay, this is me.
So that I've been hiding because you do right things. I will now do.
It's the last day, Providence, and it is the first time we're seeing your face.
Yes, good to see you too. Good to see you too. Okay. The question was on the take-home message from the training. I think those who came before me, they exhausted most of the things that I thought that I have grasped from the training. But I would like to appreciate this training, and it has given me a much better appreciation of the ISPMs and the role that we play as NPPOs, as the coordinators and the custodians of the ISPMs in our different countries. But what I appreciate the most is that in as much as we are custodians of these ISPMs and we are the ones who are implementing, it's not our job only as ISP, as NPPOs alone. No, we have to always engage with our stakeholders and to prioritize with them, and so that our activities will be driven from the industry. That way, I think we'll be able to effectively implement the different ISPMs. I think what I can say is having these ISPMs is one thing, but being able to understand them and implement them fully in our day-to-day activities is a great task, and we have to always go back and refer to them in our activities. And I want to thank Kwale CP and all our trainers for giving us this experience, and that I hope that more trainings and like I can't remember who said, I think it was Jainesh who said that would appreciate in face-to-face training of this kind when all this COVID is done. So I'm very appreciative of all this and the experience that we have shared from all the countries. Thank you so much. You've been great. And for the exterminators group, thank you guys. And hope to see you soon. Yes, now I'm switching off my camera because I'm in my bedroom.
We're going to take a picture at the end of the training, like the bye-bye picture. So don't put your camera off, just for like 5 minutes. Mildred from Uganda. Oh, Providence is from Zimbabwe. Most amazing Harare. Oh God, I want to be there all the time. Mildred, Kampala, talk to us. How is everything? What do you take away from this training?
Mildred, are you
Mildred?
there?
Okay, as I wait for Mildred to come, I want to go back to Zimbabwe and engage with Takawira. Takawira.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, bro. Talk to us.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank everyone who made this training a success. And for the take-home message, I have some points here which I have noted, which I have grasped. First of all, I have realized that surveillance system is not only controlled by NPPO, but it also needs other stakeholders, especially if you want to do the surveillance, the sampling, you need finance, you need people to understand what you're doing. So you also need almost everyone. You need also the technical know-how, you need the international community so as to be able to trade with them. And secondly, I realized that without the proper surveillance, we cannot trade with the European society because they wouldn't want to get this pest from here from Zimbabwe. And another point I have grasped is that those IPPC guidelines and ISPM, I think they are the ones that make this trading exercise. Otherwise, we'd be having a lot of pests being distributed all over the world. And I also noted that resources are also a concern when it comes to surveillance, but not only financial resources, but also we need like technical resources. We need people who can guide us. We need people who can help us identify the pests, who can help us identify the kind of surveillance we are supposed to do. And I also learned how to use the Moodle platform, which was my first time to use something like that. And I was very happy to be able to use it because I was a little bit confused in the first weeks, but now I can safely say I can use the Moodle platform. And it was very, very interesting to be able to be part of this training. And I've realized that in different countries, we have different kinds of pests. In other countries, like in Fiji, I've realized that even lizards are considered as dangerous pests because they disturb their agriculture. And lastly, I can say thank you everyone who was part of this training. Although my internet is also playing a bit every time, it's not that stable, but I hope it was a nice time with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Enclebert. So glad you were able to join this training. And I think I'm so amazed. Pass the regards to your colleagues in NTP. I really miss them, right, Grace? You've been having them from the first training. I want to go to Luyando. Luyando.
Hi.
Luyando, I don't know how to pronounce and make your other name. Is it Liowa?
Exactly. You pronounce it so very well.
Come on.
Yes, it's Liowa.
Yes, Luyando.
Yes, thank you so much. My take-home message, I can say my take-home, I would like to thank the trainers and all the participants for your time. It's been a very good training. We all had to put in our base, and we were very observant with time. My take-home message has been, the training has been very educative to me. And I came to learn about the ISPMs that are related to space surveillance. This was so very coincidental because I was just assigned to head the space surveillance unit, I think 2 weeks of training. So this was a super orientation course for me.
Leander, have we lost you?
And a very good start for me with them trying to start making protocols and outline the way I would run the unit. So with those few remarks, I would just say thank you so very much again. And the message gotten is will be put into very good use. Thank you, Doc, and thank you all the trainers.
Thank you so much, Leandro. We are so glad you would join us. I'm so happy that you had Zambia this time around. It's amazing. It's amazing. I want to go to, where did I go to? Before I go to Fiji, I want to go to Botswana. Ramogapi.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, for me, as I have indicated in a number of times, my background is more of a trade person, so I think this has been very informative, a very good learning curve for me. What happens in Botswana is that my department as trade people, we coordinate market access issues, including SPS issues. So I think from now on we'll also, you'll hear a lot from us in terms of trying to seek for your assistance in terms of helping our NPPO, in terms of helping our producers this side. So for me, it has been a very eye-opening adventure. I think I've learned a lot. I think it has enhanced my way of looking at trade issues. So I'm really grateful, and I can assure you that I know you have said Botswana is the first time we are participating in such things. So I can assure you that in future ones, you will get a lot of participants from this side. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And do you know Ramogapi's other name is called Ezra? Okay, now guys, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Ramogapi didn't see Opelo. We really missed him. Tell him you really missed him.
Yes, I'll let you know.
Please. And the guys and Prudence, you need to tell somebody here for me. Tell Chipere and Chipere Kenneth and Gamma Levy that we really miss them in this training so badly. And same to Choga Maruva and Chitaukire. Get it in case you're working in the same area, okay? Yeah, they really miss them so much. So where then do we go to? I need now to go to Fiji. So I want to talk to Jainesh. No, not Jainesh. Jainesh, you have talked, right? So I'm going to Nilesh.
Thank you, Dr. Frederick, Sarah, and Grace for your inputs over the last 4 or 5 weeks. And we are very grateful to have you guys as resource personals and to take us through this program of surveillance. Personally, I am very glad that 2 of my staff have taken part in this program, and they have passed with flying colors. And I have these 2 staff to fill in the big shoes that I was always carrying around. So congratulations, Riten and Jinesh. On the regional front, I can understand that there are still gaps that needs to be filled in terms of surveillance. And most of the time, Fiji is a pilot country in this region. So we'll try to partake this message into the Pacific Plant Protection Organization members for the upcoming meeting, where I'll be doing at least 2 presentations, and I'll include 2 or 3 lines to say that these types of programs is very much needed in the region. So that very well said by Grace is that one country doing surveillance in a very detailed manner and the other is not, doesn't really make a big difference because things just get passed across here and there. On an international front, I'm glad IPPC standards are being followed around in most of the countries, and there is a lot of similarities, yet there needs to be differences because priorities are different, and there are differences in the way the NPPOs operate. So all in all, I'm very, very glad to take part in this 3rd CP program and to have another certificate in my CV. So all good. Thank you very much. And please, all of us, keep safe and keep connected. Thank you.
Thank you so much. On behalf of Mildred, let me say what she said. Mildred has an emergency. She's lost an uncle, so she's going to the village for a burial. Nonetheless, she's joining us online. She's listening, so she's not able to respond because you'd imagine how that would be tough for her. However, she's saying that she's so grateful to having part of this training, and that she had learned a lot about SPM6, and that she's gotten, she had sunk deep into her mind, and she now have a better grasp of it in all the matters of surveillance systems. So she's grateful to the trainers, and she's saying that all of us should have a good time, and we thank you for sharing the knowledge. So thank you so much. Before I ask Grace to give a comment or 2, I think the objective, the general, we had shared the objective of the training. I think I was not doing the roundup of the discussion, but apart from that, it was important that we get to learn, we get to appreciate where are we in terms of pest surveillance, and where can we get to? How far can we stretch ourselves? So what are the gaps that need to be filled? And so we had picked a couple of them. I think from your own end, you've seen where you are and the gap that is missing, and then how we can move forward. And I'm grateful that you're able to mention that. And so we have learned a couple of stuff, I think, in this training, and some of them would be, I think what I think it was Elisa who said, learned how to use digital tools for learning. That's amazing. And that was the aim also when Sarah was putting you, asking you to use WooClap and Padlet and telling you, no, use that one. It was so that we were also able to live by these tools because COVID has come and you never know how things will turn out. And we cannot stop our life because COVID is here. So you also good to learn some of these things. That was actually also part of it. And I know there would have been a challenge for some of us to the group work. I know we had a challenge because I don't know if Fiji is like many hours ahead of all other countries, other regions, and it was important. Maybe we partner people per group, like put Fijians alone, we put Zambians alone. But we thought in this training that would be the most ideal way. Let's mix people up. Even if the timing is different, you can always still see a way to work. And the aim of that was this, that you get to share experiences. You get to know what Fiji is doing, get to know what Kenya is doing, get to know what Ethiopia is doing, and then you can learn together. And then apart from that, we also create a network. So I'm hoping that you all give sharing our Facebook accounts if you do have, so that we can still form that little community. We still get to network. And so putting somebody from Zambia, somebody from Ethiopia, and somebody from Kenya, the aim was that you get to know them next time. If you know, we need some quick consultation on, hey, how do you handle this? If you guys have experience with this, like now Leandro says he's heading a department on pest surveillance. Now, if he needs some quick consultancy or quick checkup on something, just to compare notes, he has like at least 10 people to check with. And so that was the aim of that grouping. And then I'm grateful that we've learned that there exist protocols and standards, and that we can domesticate them for use, but you should that there should be a guide on how we can do our surveillance. And I'm also grateful that you have formed. We have formed kind of like a way forward from where we are. How do we move forward given where we are? And the good news is that there is that certificate will be issued of this for this training. In fact, immediately from right now, you are eligible for certificates as long as they've done the assignments. I'll explain to you how to get that certificate in a moment. And what I want to bring to attention is that there is, if you need a follow-up, there's something that you didn't catch up on, you need to check up on. We're available. Check up on us. We are very available. Just check up on us. We're able to get that for you. And then if you're able to, apart from that, if you need any quick reference, Grace is available, Fred is available, Sarah is available. And apart from that, there's a couple of trainings still being offered by CoLCP. Can register on those trainings. There are a lot and they're free, okay? In the sense that they're not charging you to attend the training, okay? And so I think let's take advantage of this and learn as much as we can. So register for a couple of trainings still being offered by CoLCP. Encourage your colleagues to register, because the more, if you're empowered and you're equipped, as Ramugapi just said, we get to be robust in what you're doing and be able to support our duties much better. And then I think to this end, I want to say apologies in events where network was not so stable. At times, network and rain has a correlation. When the rain happens, network also happens, so they can be so disastrous. So sorry for that. Otherwise, I'm grateful that you have shared experience from Kenya, from Fiji. Kenya, because 2 trainers come from Kenya. Fiji, because they had three colleagues from Fiji. Then from Ethiopia, from Zambia, from Zimbabwe, from Uganda, from Botswana. That is amazing knowledge that you've just shared there. So I'm so grateful. And apart from that, Nilesh, you are not so good. Nilesh is sharing my work here. Oh, Nilesh, come on. He just grabbed one of my publications on pest surveillance. Now, so to that end, I want to take it over to Grace to give us just a recap or a comment on our feedbacks. Then I can make a quick discussion on the last part of today's session. Then you can end up. So, Grace.
Yeah, thank you, Frederick. Apologies to participants from Fiji. We know that they want to enter their beds or take their supper.
At this Friday.
We'll do it pretty fast. I think I'm only leaving you. I'm only thanking you all for coming this far and persevering up to the end. And all your contributions and experience sharing has been so great. It beefs up this training very, very nicely. But I just want to leave you with this assignment, that is there a way that you might influence differently? The review process, for example, of the content of your plant health regulations if such an opportunity occurred, using the knowledge that you've gained from this training. We would wish to see you influence the content of the plant health regulations in your countries. We also would wish to have you continue to communicate with one another, even way beyond this training on matters of pest surveillance. And above all, is there anything you picked from using the digital tools that you can use actually in your own situation in view of COVID-19 that you might use, in capacity building approaches in your own situations? So this is homework for you. Think over it, ponder over it, and see how best you can utilize it. I don't want to waste really your time. I just want to take you back to Dr. Frederick. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Grace. Now, last bit of this session, I was supposed to just share my screen real quick. Let me just share my screen real quick. The activity here now, I'm supposed to discuss with you about the training evaluation and then do a quick the closing remark. So I'm opening back to my screen. There we go. The training evaluation. Sarah, I don't know if you can make it active. It's still restricted.
No, I have unrestricted it.
Mine does not look like it's unrestricted. I don't know.
Okay, let me check again.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's now open. So participant, this is the they call it the training evaluation form. From your end, let me just change my role to be able to show you what to look like at your end. It will look like this. It will look like this. So here is a quick questionnaire. Just want to, it's important to hear what your feedback, just what you have told us, share with us here so that you're able to repackage, see what to improve on, what to work on, and how to recustomize it to make sure that it's meeting all the needs of our participants. So it's a quick questionnaire, will take you less than 5 minutes to fill, really. Just a matter of clicking stuff, okay? Clicking stuff. So kindly check this out, finish it up, and then click submit. Then when you click submit, and you have finished all your assignments, then the certificate gets ready immediately. So let me say the certificate will be ready by, let's say by tomorrow. So you finish up this thing, then tomorrow we can able to finish up your assignment, finish up, get to access a certificate. Now certificate will be, when you come here, you will get this thing here, this, are you seeing this button here? Certificate here, it's restricted. When you click this, you will get a certificate. Even myself, I can't see it right now because I have not put that right on. So you'll get a certificate on this in this tab. So once you are done everything, once you tell that your certificate is the following can access certificate, we share that in the WhatsApp group. You'll come here, you click on this, and then you can download it. Okay. So how that works, you don't have to worry about it. We'll share with you. If you have a problem accessing it, we are available still, so don't worry about that. So I think to that very end, I'm so grateful. I think I'll give my closing remarks. We want to inform you that we are, if you need any support as an NPPO or follow-up or coaching, we are available. Quality is available. Reach out to any of us or reach out to Quality. We'll be able to support you. And of course, we are hoping, Janesh, that things get out of, we can able to contain this COVID stuff, and then you'll be able to move up and down and see how to support each other and even do some of these things practically in the field, on the ground. And also, this resource that I've just shared with you, Emma, is available as long as you have you're registered. But you see, it can't be there forever, right? So it means that the moment there are no people interacting with it, then it will definitely be deleted, but it cannot happen this year, maybe later next year. But these materials too have also been put in the YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, then you check NPPO pest surveillance, you're gonna get all the trainings. In fact, from season 1 all the way to your season is season 4. So you can get all of that, okay? And each is a 4-week training. And then, so reach out to us for support, and also just remind you that enroll for more of Quality CP training on this Fit for Market program, because they enrich how you do operations. And also the way Anish says, the way Nlesh says, it will enrich your CV. I think that's a good thing, right? Gosai, I think you need that for your CV. And so I'm ending it there. My expertise is on digital pest surveillance. That's what I'm focusing my research on, and general agriculture informatics. However, my background is computing and IT. So IT and agriculture, that's where I am in. I think each of the parts, the trainers tell you the expertise, just in case you need their help at any given point. So thank you so much. From my end, I'm ending it there. So I'm taking it over to Grace, and then it's going to Sarah, then Sarah will finish up for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Frederick. And I don't really want to waste any more time. I just want to thank the participants greatly, and also would want to wish them all the best in their career, and that we are still available, you know, to assist you wherever we can technically, and encourage you to keep in touch with, you know, members of this cohort, including other cohorts that we've already trained. If in case you have access to their contacts, just get in touch with them and share your experiences. From Uganda, it's 32 minutes past midday. I want to wish you all the best. Thank you so very much.
Grace, you didn't tell us what your strength, your focus is, just to remind the participants again.
Say that again.
You didn't remind us on your focus. Basically, generally, what your focus is on. For the sake of participants.
I think I still re-emphasize a very strong, I want to see a very strong national plant protection organization steered with a strong and very vigilant pest surveillance, you know, program. I think that's where we should aim at. And I would want also to see the NPPOs, you know, divest some of their activities in pest surveillance to other stakeholders. I think that's where my focus is on. Goodbye.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you, participants, for coming this far. Mine is just to remind those who have pending assignments, please complete them. Like Ramogapi, you need to do sequence 1.1. I see you've done 5 and 4. Please do 1 and 2. There is some work left there. Yeah, so, and the others, if you have any pending assignments, try to complete them. Thank you. So my expertise in digital learning, and that's what I was doing in this training, the use of the digital tools for learning. Thank you. So Frederick, are you taking the group photo? Dr. Frederick, did we lose him?
Probably his network. Yeah, this network seems to be a problem. This network seems. Dr. Frederick? We have lost him, I think. But yeah, we are so grateful having had you for these 4 weeks. We just look forward to one day meeting, you know, on one-on-one would be more exciting. Gosai, now you can sleep. Yeah.
Everyone should switch their cameras on so we could take a group picture. Providence, Anklabet, Nilesh, Mildred.
You know, we have lost.
Dr. Fred. Yeah, we can take another picture when he comes back on. Oh, he's here. He's here.
I can see him. Dr. Frederick, we lost you. Can you take?
I'm here. My network messed up. Please,
okay.
Let's put cameras on to take a photo. My
then.
camera had gone berserk. I'm back. Mildred, oh, Mildred, no. Nilesh, put your camera on. I'm the photographer, right?
You're the paparazzi.
Yes, yes. Nilesh, put your camera on.
Good.
I can't see Nilesh. Can you guys see him?
Yes, we can see him.
Then my network is not very good, or my network is electing not to see Nilesh.
Yeah, I also cannot see Nilesh.
Selective network.
Okay, colleagues and participants, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, and be blessed, and good evening and good day, and keep in touch all the time.
Goodbye.
Au revoir.